YouTubers change, and that's perfectly okay. Not only is change natural, but it's also necessary. Think of your favorite YouTubers, especially those who are successful and have been around for a long time. Now compare the first 10 videos they made to the most recent 10 videos they made. They've really changed a lot, haven't they? In fact, rarely will you find any prominent YouTubers who continue to create the exact same kind of content they made when they first started their channel. In fact, many prominent YouTubers are almost unrecognizable from their initial days. Let's take storytime animators for example. I remember back in the 2010s when storytime animators were quite the boom, from the likes of Jaden Animations and The Odd Ones Out. Their videos were entertaining, quirky, and relatable, which amassed a large and mainly younger audience. And with every huge success began a trend with many other storytime animation channels following their footsteps. However, around the 2020s, the genre began to lose steam. Although it hasn't completely disappeared, today it is nowhere near popular as it used to be. There are a lot of reasons for it, which are beyond the scope of this video. But one big reason is that the younger audience at the time simply grew out of that content and moved on to other things. Also, there's only so many personal life stories you can tell as a 20-something-year-old until you eventually run out of life experiences, which isn't a lot. In the end, most storytime animation channels have faded away since then because, to put it simply, the whole genre has lost its appeal. Yet, the aforementioned likes of Jaden Animations and The Odd Ones Out are still quite active, except instead of personal life stories, they have shifted their content to other topics, such as their hobbies and quirks, or even educational videos, all the while still retaining their unique artistic styles that propel them to success. Therefore, the reason why they're still active is because they adapted to the changing media landscape, which allowed them to remain relevant to the zeitgeist and therefore remain active on YouTube. And those who couldn't adapt to the changing landscape struggled to maintain their growth before eventually being relegated to irrelevance. The Odd Ones Out and Jaden Animations adapted and changed, and thus continued to make names for themselves, while others did not and disappeared. Because doing the same thing always and never evolving your craft is a surefire way to stagnate or even decline altogether, not just on YouTube but anywhere in life. For one, trends come and go. What used to be popular back then isn't so popular anymore. What's popular right now won't remain popular into the future. No matter how popular a particular trend or niche is, it is still temporary, and to bet your entire YouTube channel around it is not only quite risky but very short-sighted. Even more risky and short-sighted, if not downright unsustainable, is revolving your channel entirely around a particular medium and nothing else, such as a particular video game. On one hand, focusing on one game will certainly give you a strong core audience, since most will follow you for specific content, thus not having to worry about catering to different groups. And if the game in question is also popular enough, such as Minecraft or Fortnite, the demand and audience will also be large enough to propel a channel's success very quickly. However, the flip side is that same core audience can also serve as a double-edged sword. By focusing on one game only, you will attract an audience who's only interested in that specific game. And if you ever try to branch out to other games or genres, it'll turn them off and potentially mess with the algorithm. And because creators don't want to lose what they've built, they're also discouraged from growing their content and therefore pigeonholing themselves in one kind of content only. This in turn not only stifles growth and new opportunities, but it also leads to unforeseen traps that can serve as the downfall of a channel. For example, excluding popular titles like Minecraft or Fortnite, what happens when a game just isn't that popular anymore? Yet, that's all you're known for. Or even worse, what happens when the devs decide to end support for a game, which literally cuts off the lifeline of your content? And the more niche a game is, the more precarious the chances are. Therefore, be it a niche, genre, or video game, it is unwise to put all your eggs into one basket, and it wouldn't hurt to branch out a little bit, and not have to rely solely on one thing only. Yes, not everyone's gonna agree to new kinds of content, but some will, and you will also gain a new audience as well. Besides, I'd wager that most people are not these one-dimensional individuals hyper-fixated on one thing only. In fact, I'd wager that most people have multiple interests that change over time. And consider this as well. What happens if you get bored with a game and want to explore other games? What happens when you get bored with gaming in general and want to explore other genres? Which then brings me to the next point. You will gain new interests over time, because you will change as a person. For example, I'm a very different person today compared to when I was 18, or even my early 20s. 1. I was a complete dumbass. 18-year-old Lawrence had no idea what the hell he was doing, nor who he was. Second, While I've retained some interests, such as video games and space exploration, I've also gained new interests since then, such as architecture, interior design, history, and cooking, which I'm eager to explore more. Likewise, I've also lost interest in things that I used to be very passionate about, such as anime. Don't crucify me, I'll explain in another video. But had I started a channel lock in step with anime content only, it would have eventually stagnated and imploded. Because to put it simply, I just don't care about anime as much as I used to now. Sorry, weebs. Regardless, the same can be said about audiences as well, as they also grow and change over time. Many grow out of what they once enjoyed when they were younger, and as a result, grow out of some YouTube channels they once passionately watched. With so many people trying to become YouTubers, there's a lot of discussions and advices online about how to grow a channel. And one thing I hear a lot online is the emphasis of niching down to a particular genre, with some even advocating to be as hyper-specific as possible. But I disagree and believe having a dynamic channel that houses multiple content and can evolve over time is sustainable not only for growth, but also for the creator in question. Take my channel for example. I started this channel making Helltaker content, but I've moved on from it since last summer. 1. Helltaker is way past its heyday, and it became clear that the genre just wasn't sustainable anymore. If I wanted to grow this channel further, I had to move on and expand to other things. Secondly, I got bored of Helltaker. Simple as that. After 4 years of consistently making Helltaker fan art, it just became stale for me, and I really wanted to explore other things such as Fallout and Halo, and other things to come. When I stopped making Helltaker content, I didn't lose as much subscribers as I anticipated. Still, most of the users that regularly commented on my Helltaker videos did stop engaging in my newer videos. But, at the same time, some regulars, aka the OGs, stuck around, and I've slowly developed a new audience as well. With a dynamic audience, people will come and go, but some will remain and become part of your core audience. As one of my friends told me, I came for Helltaker, but I stayed for you. And that's just part of growth not only on YouTube, but also life in general. This channel, Lawrence of Arcadia, is already very different from when I first started it. When I first started this channel back in the 3rd of February 2024, my original plan was actually to become a quote-unquote art YouTuber, focusing on speed paints with commentaries in the background. But as I started experimenting around with my videos, such as silly skits and tier lists, I realized I could do much more and wondered why I should limit myself to only speed paints and commentaries. Therefore, I've since expanded my horizons to become a more general content creator in my own right, by including various characters, immersive backgrounds, silly skits, and covering a wider range of topics such as video games and more. And speaking of games, even though I love Halo and plan to make a lot of videos on it, I don't ever want to become a quote-unquote Halo channel for the same reason I didn't want to become a Helltaker channel. Once again, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into a specific game for all the reasons we covered. Besides, it's kind of a bad time to revolve your channel solely around Halo, given its current content draw. Even the renowned Halo YouTuber, Hidden Xperia, has acknowledged these dilemmas on one of his videos, and is trying to branch out. Fortunately, I also like many other things beyond Halo and Fallout, or even video games in general, and therefore, open to branching out to other interests as well. And speaking of art, even though I no longer desire to be an art YouTuber, art will still remain a fundamental part of this channel because no matter what I pursue in life, I will always be an artist at heart. But I also wish to be more than just an artist and learn other skills as well, which allows me to become a multi-dimensional content creator in my own right. Now, I know some of you will challenge me and say how there still needs to be some level of consistent themes with your channel. And I actually agree. You don't want to become so generic and everywhere that people can't tell what your channel is even about. It would be pretty jarring to see a gaming Let's Play channel suddenly start making weird ASMR content. And you will never see me make drama slop about online influencers that have no effect on our lives. At the same time, you also shouldn't be afraid of experimenting a little bit and widening your horizons, especially if you want to grow and improve your craft. In fact, if you can find a way to integrate multiple interests together, that's the best of both worlds. And if a particular content happens to be so disconnected from the rest of your channel, starting a separate channel could also be a good idea. But that's for you to decide if something is different enough to justify a separate platform. And if something doesn't interest you anymore, it's okay to move on from it. In fact, forcing yourself to stick to something you're no longer passionate about is a disservice to both yourself and your audience. and your audience will notice the lack of passion and be turned off by it. In any case, you can maintain a general theme, or a North Star as I like to call it, while also leaving room for some dynamism and flexibility. Besides, it's called a YouTube channel, and channels don't play only one show or program. Regardless of any genres or interests, what's more important is being authentic and yourself, that you enjoy what you want to create, and true fans will follow and support you for being you. And as I also continue to discover new experiences and gain new interests, my YouTube channel will likewise also change and grow along with it, because ultimately, I will continue to change and grow as a person. I don't know what my channel will be like in the future years to come. However, what will always remain consistent on this channel is that it will always be me. You will always be greeted by my avatar. You will always be greeted by immersive backgrounds. And you will always be greeted by my voice talking into the microphone. And no, I will not use AI to automate any of this. So yes, YouTubers change, but as long as their passion and authenticity remains alive, that's all that matters. So with all that being said, here's what I will close out on. Niching down does not mean you become so one-dimensional that you only do one thing and nothing else. In fact, I really dislike this idea because of how rigid, dull, and even trapped it feels. Yes, I love video games, but I'm also so much more than that. I also love storytelling, world building, traveling, cooking, gardening, and so much more. And my value and identity, not just as a YouTuber, but also as a person, is not anchored towards one specific thing only. Which is why I'm not T. Lawrence the art YouTuber, the Helltaker YouTuber, the Halo YouTuber, or even a gaming YouTuber. I'm just T. Lawrence the YouTuber, who likes to express my various interests in my own unique and creative ways. If there's any niching down to be done in this channel, it'll just be being myself, nothing more. And whether it's YouTube or life in general, don't let anybody define you by telling you that you should only do one thing only, or even be one thing only, and nothing else. So with all that being said for the second time, as for myself, I will also begin sprinkling other content like this video, which so happens to be the pilot episode for a new series called Starside Chat, where I talk about miscellaneous topics like this in a chill and relaxed setting. It won't be a regular series, but rather something I'll do occasionally every now and then, whenever I have thought-provoking topics I want to discuss. Also, where are we right now? We're in a custom-built sauna on the starboard side of the Arcadia. It's where I come to relax after a long-ass day. And why a sauna, you may ask? Because saunas are one of the greatest inventions of humanity, and I think every household should have one, just like the people in Finland do. It's a place to relax, wind down, decompress, and disconnect from the chaotic outside world. It's a place to meditate and introspect about life without the outside world's interruption. And the ethereal sea of stars in the background are a perfect reminder to slow down a bit and take a break. For the OG subs, I know what you're thinking. Wasn't this kind of content supposed to be in the second channel? About that. I'll have a formal announcement over there as well, but to summarize briefly, after much contemplation, I realized that I just don't have a lot of compelling video ideas for that channel. And for the few ideas that are compelling, I realized they could actually be applied in this channel as well, such as this video. Therefore, the lack of overall ideas for the second channel makes it hard to justify committing to it. Plus, I'd rather focus on one channel alone and try to master it, as opposed to dividing my attention and effort. And when it comes to room for growth, this channel has infinitely more potential. So for now, the second channel, Lawrence of Valeria, will go on indefinite hiatus. I'm not gonna delete it, but it will stay in the backseat for now and serve as a backup channel until I can find out what I can do with it. But for now, I will purely focus on this channel. And that finally wraps up the first episode of Starside Chat. And thank you for indulging in my rambling about YouTube. I've had these thoughts in my head for a while now, and I figured it would be the perfect topic for the start of the series. And I very much look forward to more upcoming chill discussions like these. So thanks for watching, and until next time. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon for supporting this channel. My $5 patrons are Kapitan Sladek, Kidzap, Chocoburb, and Dravenraven. My $2 patrons are Komida the Prep Cook Demon. If you would like to appear at the end credits of my videos, as well as have early access and exclusive content on Patreon, feel free to hop on over to patreon.com/LTELawrence and give a pledge. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this is T. Lawrence of the Arcadia, signing out.